your thoughts now that the deed is done. Jayden Daniels is a Commander, and let's start off with Robert in Fairfax. Robert, thanks for calling. Get us started. You are on the Hoffman Show.
All right, Craig. Yeah, it's a great day. Couldn't be more psyched about Jayden Daniels, but I just kind of want to say I think the pick was obvious. Just like Adam Peters kind of alluded to in his press conference. They knew this for a long time, and he was their number one choice from the beginning for all the reasons that he said. He played in top-level competition, the SEC. Kingsbury wanted him, which a lot of people said from the beginning. This is like Kyler Murray 2.0. Kingsbury's a mad scientist. Now he has a perfect canvas to do all his, crazy plays, with Jayden Daniels that he probably will not be able to do with Drake Maye. And look, I'm not bashing Drake Maye. He's talented, but he's on the Jordan Love timeline. And this fan base doesn't have that much time, So I just want to say I'm happy with the pick, and I thought it was obvious in the beginning, and I'm happy they made the obvious choice.
Yeah, one of the things that I wonder, Robert, thanks for the call, is, I think a lot, this is going to sound crazy, and I'm not looking to start fights today, but one of the things that I think people need to know about Jayden Daniels is in college, he did not do a lot of the running around making plays stuff. He did a lot of the running making plays stuff, and he did a lot of the making plays stuff. But I actually would tell you, if the guy you're looking for is Kyler Murray, the better comparison is Drake Maye. Drake has a stronger arm and does more off-platform. Part of what makes Kyler Murray special, to the extent that you think Kyler Murray is special or not, is he has the baseball background where he can make a throw off of any platform. One of the things that makes Jayden great is he's able to find his platform all over the place in the pocket and quickly deliver the football. But he doesn't have nearly as much as Drake Maye, what scouts call the second reaction type of stuff. Now, with that said, this is the part that I don't know, because there is some of it. Can he? Because he's surely athletic enough. He's a phenomenal, he's got great feet. Quick, we know the sprint speed, all of that. But the ability to throw off of platform and be running one way, throw back across, he doesn't have the same arm strength as Mahomes, Kyler. Obviously, there's a range here that I'm talking about, but he's not in this range of Mahomes, Kyler, Josh Allen, Drake Maye, Justin Herbert. That's not who he is. Just because he's athletic and is a good passer doesn't mean the two have necessarily combined in college. But what I do wonder is, did he show just enough of it on tape, even if it's not a regular feature of his game at LSU, that they can move him around a little bit, and Cliff feels comfortable with that to do exactly what Robert in Fairfax just suggested. But it's a point of clarification, not to diminish Jayden, just to point out this is something he hasn't shown in college. And I think one of the things that's really hard about this is just because someone did one thing in college doesn't mean they can or can't do it in the pros. And there might have been enough of it on the rare occasions that he did where Cliff goes. And there's a scouting saying that I heard from Daniel Jeremiah during this process that some scouts live and die by, our coaches too. If he can do it once, he can do it. And so that very well might be the case of how they feel about Jayden Daniels. Let's go to Paul. Paul, thanks for calling. You are on the Hoffman Show.
Hey, it's always good to get the calls, man, for you to take my call, man, because you talk about a lot of different things. And I want to say this also as far as the pick, man, which I'm ecstatic about. I really like that pick, is that this guy, man, he puts in the work. He puts in the work, and, one of the guys, I think it was Russell, that was talking to John Beck earlier, and Beck was talking about, hey, man, you got to catch up with Jayden because Jayden want to work out tomorrow, and, the young guy is charismatic and he does what he needs to be done. But I don't want to disrespect you, your show, or any of your callers. I want to say this. Drake Maye plays for the New England Patriots. Jayden Daniels plays for the Washington Commanders. Have a good day, sir.
All right. Thanks, Paul. He sure does. Which, by the way, I'll say this, Ant, real quick. I know I'm not going to go on a Drake Maye or a New England Patriots related tangent. But I hate that for Drake Maye.
Hey,
He's got a great one to learn from in Jacoby.
He does.
By the way, can you imagine that call last night? Drake calls up Sam Howell. He's like, what's it like to learn from Brissett?
Possibly.
The old North Carolina pals.
Yeah.
Kind of whack. Jacoby's like, another one? Because you remember where Jacoby went to school?
Where did he go?
NC State.
Oh, wow. Dang.
But, man, they got not a whole lot / next to nothing. And it might be a case where if I'm New England, like if I was Washington or New York or Minnesota, like I am starting Drake Maye within the first 6 weeks of the season. I may be sitting him to start, but I would have played him. If I'm New England with the lack of talent that I have up there, and by the way, I have maybe the best backup in the league in Brissett, I'd probably just play Jacoby the entire year. But not our circus.
Not at all.
Not our people to worry about. So Jayden Daniels, of course, is the Commanders. That's what we're worrying about today. Is the Commanders pick. Your calls on Daniels to DC 301-230-0980. More of them next on the Hoffman Show. Right now, though, our focus, of course, on the first round pick, which is Jayden Daniels, quarterback, Louisiana State University, and we're talking about it with you at 301-230-0980. Let's go to Ross in Tampa. Ross, thanks for holding through the break, man. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Going on, man. Hear from you again. So I am in the same ballpark as you, except instead of having the hope for McCarthy, I wanted Maye, but it's not that I didn't want Daniels. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like the one thing that scared me off of Daniels, like there was a play against Ole Miss where he got smoked by a linebacker. He reminds me of like one of those like kids when you play neighborhood football who thinks he can run over everybody, and I'm just like, dude, I hope that they coach him out of that. And then I think it was the opener last year against Florida State where he tried to jump over the entire line of scrimmage, and he caught himself getting the nasty spine buster. Like, oh, please don't do that against the Eagles. That's going to be painful to watch. I know we're focusing on Jayden Daniels, and I'm telling you right now, I am extremely happy to hear that he's going to be our QB1 in the future. Just I try to educate myself on the person and not just the player. So what I mean by that, you know, I try to like look up their interviews. How do they respond to the media and how do they act? You know what I'm saying? The character is everything. And I see, I don't know, it kind of reminds me of Kirk a little bit in terms of like, you know, handling the media and all that good stuff. But real fast, before I let you go, I had mentioned something on what's his name, Chris Russell's show yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember? And Anthony, chime in if you can. You guys remember when he left ASU and it was like a whole circus in the locker room and everybody was like kind of surrounding his locker?
I don't remember specifically, but I know there was some stuff when he left ASU.
Yeah, it was a video that went around on Twitter for a little bit. The teammates were in his locker getting everything that he left behind, and the guy in the background who's recording it was like, well, I can't repeat verbatim, but he was basically saying how this guy sucks anyway. Who needs him? So I just kind of wonder what he's up to these days, if he still wants to maintain that thought of Jayden Daniels sucking. But real fast, for picks 36 and 40, oh my goodness, if Kool-Aid McKinstry falls, I would love it. If we can get Paul maybe at 40, I feel like that still might be a little too early for a Paul, but I'm not the GM, so I don't really make the decisions. That'd be great too. I wanted to say A.D. Mitchell, but I'm hearing some not so good things, and I never knew about that with A.D. Mitchell because, like I mentioned before, I'm a Georgia guy, and he was never an issue in Athens. So I don't know what happened with him when he went over to Austin, Texas, but if the Bills pass on him, then yeah, that's a major red flag. Because I'm like,
because they
so
need
talented.
a receiver down bad. Ross, thanks for the call. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna like. There's clearly stuff when like friction between Arizona State and Jayden when he left, but he was also like one of AP and Herm's guys, and there was friction between AP and Herm and everybody when they left at ASU. Like, that was not a good situation, one in which ASU is still paying for with some of the sanctions and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not really going to hold that against him. And also, like, he was 20 years old, and it seems like he's grown up a lot in the couple of years at LSU. Like, Brian Kelly's not an easy coach to play for, and he thrived under Brian Kelly. Like, Brian Kelly will make sure that you are on a certain path. and are living a certain way. And sure, yeah, he probably tolerates some stuff that is unsavory because he's a college football coach, and Brian Kelly's an interesting person, to say the least. Remember when he grew an accent for his introductory pep rally? Good times. But at the end of the day, like, I think that focusing on his exit from a college at the age of 20 amongst a bunch of other 18, 19, and 20-year-olds is getting distracted more than it is focusing on the reality of whatever he is now and maybe even whatever he learned from that situation. Let's go to Al in Arlington. Al, thanks for calling. You are on the Hoffman Show.
Yeah, I like the pick. I mean, let's be honest. Like, if you didn't know him already and you watched the draft last night and you saw the highlights of him, you see this kid can scan the field, and they say scan the field at a professional level. He's a dual threat, and the talk about his size and his slight frame, they can bulk him up. He's already bulked up from the end of the season up until the draft. I think he went up. I forgot what they said, how much he gained in weight, but that's fixable. I'd rather fix that and teach him how to slide than talk about what a great ceiling he has in the future, like Drake Maye. We've been down that path. We don't have the time to sit a guy for 2 years. So I think that this was a solid.
Al, let me ask you a question, because you're the second caller that said that. Why do you say we don't have time?
Well, okay, so obviously I don't have any inside knowledge, so what kind of patience this new administration is going to have with Quinn and his staff. But the moves that they've made clearly show that they are not in a total rebuild. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, they've put some key pieces in place for them to be competitive this year. And we'll see throughout the draft.
Kind of. I think they put a floor underneath them this year, but I don't feel like they haven't signed any major impact players unless Luvu busts out in a major way. He might wind up being a guy, but even then, he's probably like a tier 2, which you need a lot of tier 2. Like, if you could have 3 tier 1 players, 10 tier 2 players, and the rest of your roster be solid, you're a championship level team. So I'm not trying to diminish the value of a guy like Luvu even if he's really good, but they haven't spent any money yet. And this is year 1 of this administration, and Josh Harris is very patient by ownership standards. So I wholeheartedly disagree with the fact that, yes, they're trying to be competitive this year because they're trying to establish a culture and a way of going about their business. But with the quarterback specifically, the goal is to win the championship, and they are building through the draft, and this was the first pick of that part of the plan, which is the biggest and most important part of the plan.
I mean, fair enough, but I can't help but feel like there's some hope, and maybe this is the fan base talking, because I've heard other callers say this, but that there's some hope that this could be like a C.J. Stroud situation.
I mean, there's hope. But every fan base has hope every year. And you know what happens to most fan bases? I don't mean to be a downer here, but this is what happens to most fan bases that have hope.
This time I'm going to kick that football clear to the moon.
And the beauty of the NFL is every year we come back and we line up and we try to kick the football again. And sometimes you're Houston, but a lot of times you're not.
Yeah. As a lifelong Commanders-Redskins fan, you don't have to tell me that.
Right. Al, thanks for the call. I appreciate the back and forth. And again, I do think that they think Daniels can be impactful this year. And I would tell you, if you tell me the number is 5.5, 6.5, I'll probably take the over. You tell me it's 8.5, I'm probably going under, which is an improvement for a team that won poopsie games last year. That last year was terrible. This year is going to be way more fun. They're going to be way more competitive week in, week out, without question. But this is the NFL. This is really hard. And we'll talk about that concept seemingly being lost on people even in the NFL later when we talk about the Atlanta Falcons. But when we talk about Jayden versus Drake, I think you take Jayden because you feel like you can fix the smaller issues with him and get to a similar ceiling versus Drake, where there's some stuff where you go, I don't know if we can fix that. Logan had this great line on Take Command in our final quarterback chat, and he had talked to some of his quarterback coach buddies around the league, and they had studied these guys, and they had studied Drake, and when they looked at Drake Maye, they're like, yeah, I don't really know why sometimes he misses throws. He just misses. And when you don't know what the problem is, you can't fix it. And I think that scared teams. And even if he's got a lot of stuff, like go watch Drake Maye's highlights and tell me that you don't think that can be a great football player. He can be. And he's got great leadership. He's got great charisma. Like he's got a lot of what you want in the package. But there's some fundamental basic stuff as compared to when you watch Jayden, and it's just smooth and it's confident. And there's a rhythm to his game that's just really, really enticing. And you're like, wow, he's got a great feel. And he plays so competitively. And I will say, for as competitive as Drake Maye is like from a character development, you talk to him, all that kind of stuff, and his work ethic and all that, he has had some moments where he hasn't come up big. And Jayden in big spots was money. It's part of the reason I like McCarthy as well over Maye, is because he didn't have to do a whole lot, but a lot of the stuff he had to do was really high pressure, and he delivered a lot, like almost every time. And I could say similar things about Jayden. There's some games they lost where he delivered, where he like gave them a lead late or set them up in field goal range late for a game-winning kick, and they miss it, and then they lose in overtime. I can't remember what game it was. It might have been Mississippi State. I think they lost like 52-49 in overtime. And it's a wacky one when you watch the highlight reel or the all throws reel, because he like gets them into field goal range at 49-49 with 25 seconds to go in the game. And next thing you know, the game's over. And you're like, wait, why am I on the next game? What happened at the end of that one? And it's because the special teams and the defense yacked it up. And that is a huge reason why their record was what it was. It wasn't because Jayden came up small. But yeah, that's kind of, to me, is on the timeline piece of it, is if I thought Drake Maye was guaranteed to be the better quarterback in 3 years, even if Jayden is better for the next 2, I would take Drake Maye. And if I'm Adam Peters, but I don't know that that's the case. Jayden's better now, and I think he could be better in 3, 5, and 7 years. So you take Jayden Daniels. You don't think twice about it. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We got Rob, Dan, JYD, and some open phone lines. So coming up next, let's see how many of those get filled, and we'll try to empty them out. We'll try to take as many calls as we can next on the Hoffman Show. More of your calls now, 301-230-0980. Let's go to, let's see who's been on. Hold in. Let's go to Rob. Rob, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
How's it going, Craig?
It's going well, Rob. Just trucking along, man. 4.5 hours of sleep. It's draft day, whatever.
Well, we got to do what we got to do. It's an exciting time in the city.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. What you got for me?
I'm very excited about the Jayden Daniels pick. That's the guy I wanted the whole time. You know, no disrespect to Drake Maye or J.J. McCarthy. I don't think they on his level. Nowhere near. So I think that this new regime, if we can keep him healthy, we keep all the side distractions, I think we can make the road.
All right, Rob, thanks for the call. I mean, we'll see. I do think that, you know, part of this, you mentioned the organization's role in this. I've said this a lot over the last couple of months, and I'll continue to probably be saying this as we watch Jayden Daniels' career play out. It is now on the organization to make yourself right. It's one thing to get it right, make sure that you don't miss anything in the scouting process, but then you have to set up your players at all positions, but especially at quarterback, for success. Let's go to Dan. Dan, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Good afternoon. Thanks for taking my call, and you just made my exact point. The big mystery in this whole thing is, can the coaching staff get a mojo together as a staff and make these players better? Because we have no record of what this coaching staff has done. You look in Minnesota, everyone said, oh, McCarthy's perfect for their system because we've seen it. We don't know what they have, so we don't know which quarterback was right. So in my view, all the pressure's on the staff, and there's no pressure on Jayden because he's trying to do what they do, and can they get a proper program for everybody? That's sort of my take, that I don't think it's discussed enough.
Yeah, no, I think it probably isn't discussed enough, Dan. I mean, obviously, we are going to spend a lot of time now that we know who the player is discussing this. I think that's kind of the post-draft conversation, but that's why I've tried to mention it throughout the process, that ultimately, you know, there's no better example of this in recent memory, if ever, than Puka Nacua. The Rams wide receiver was taken in the 5th round last year, and there's this now famous, whatever level of fame, mic'd up, behind the scenes clip can be. But NFL Films, watching the Rams draft party last year, and they're talking about Nakua, and Les Snead's like, his time wasn't very good, but his GPS data was good. And he turns to Sean McVay, and he's like, you feel like you have a good feel on how to use this kid. And Sean's like, I know exactly what to do with him. Sure did. Sets rookie records for yardage, nearly 1,500 yards, receptions, scores a bunch of touchdowns, and is a top 10 receiver in football last year as a rookie, 5th-round pick, because they knew exactly what to do with him. And so now it's on Cliff Kingsbury and Brian Johnson and Anthony Lynn and Dan Quinn to create an environment and a schematic, and a scheme to make themselves right. But I do want to say, to push back slightly on Dan, it is on Jayden. There is pressure on Jayden. You're a professional quarterback. That comes with pressure. And multiple sides can screw things up. We don't have to go very far to figure that out. All we got to do is rewind the clock 12 years. It is Robert Griffin's fault that Robert Griffin's career didn't work out. It's also Kyle Shanahan and Mike Shanahan's fault that things went sideways. It's also Dan Snyder's fault. They all did not do their part. There's no one in that equation that goes, I did everything right. It's his fault. It's like, I could have done better. I could have done better. And I could have done better. And one of those eyes is on a boat somewhere with $6 billion. Actually, not that much because he owed a lot of debt. Whatever. Let's go to the Junkyard Dog. JYD, what's up? You're on the Hoffman Show.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good.
Well, the pick is all right, but the point is that they got to go out there and get the guys some help. Whatever. If they think that this offensive line is the line to beat, or whatever, I just don't see it. And of course, they need tonight. They need to go out there and get him some receivers, at least one more receiver, or whatever. And also, I don't understand how a guy can go to LSU, go to Arizona, go to LSU, and go to these schools and whatever. And when they get on TV, they have no speaking skills at all. I listened to his press conference today, and he stand up there like a little mouse, like he's afraid to talk.
He's not like a overwhelming verbose guy. This is not his personality. He's also 23 years old. Like, he's a kid.
Look, I understand where you come, but at 23, he's 24, going on 24 years old. Come on, he ain't no baby.
He's not a baby, but
he's a grown man. If he's grown enough to accept millions of dollars.
Yes, because every job that gives you millions of dollars requires great public speaking skills.
And this is what he does not have, and he needs to get
that was me being facetious. It does not require great public speaking skills. It's something that would behoove him to improve at, sure, because he's going to have to talk every week. But there's no job requirement for him to be an amazing public speaker. He is also. Hold on, I'm gonna finish.
I have no argument with you.
I'm gonna put you on hold because I said I'm gonna finish, and it's my show, and I can do that. Also, being at the draft and understanding the timeline of what has happened here. There's an incredibly human toll to all of this. The draft is an insane process, okay? He got drafted at about 8:40 last night. I didn't get to talk to him about 9:40. You know what he did between the time he got drafted and talked to me? Nothing but talk. He did a Zoom with the local reporters back in Ashburn. He did a press conference. He did about 6 or 7 other one-on-one interviews. He had at least one more after me. And then I think he did other stuff last night before finally getting to enjoy his night a little bit. And then he woke up this morning, got on a plane, and went to a press conference. He's probably exhausted, okay? And as someone who is currently from the NFL draft running on 4.5 hours sleep and has to talk for 3 hours, let me tell you, this probably is not going to be the best work that I've ever done in my entire life today. So what I would tell you, JYD, is that there is a human element to this that I think deserves a little bit more respect for the circumstances than just being like, I'm excited for the pick, but this dude sucks at talking. Who cares?
That's your opinion.
Sure is.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Let's go to Terrence. Terrence, thanks for calling. You're on the Hoffman Show.
Hey, man, how you doing?
Doing great.
I'm so glad you finished that off because, okay, not even going to talk about him. He's in the past. Anyway, for a while, I thought y'all weren't taking any calls from Dallas because every time I call in, I just got phone rings. But anyway.
Well, we can talk to Anthony about our Dallas policy now that the draft is over.
Okay. I think this is a great pick because if you look at all the coaches, I don't know, everybody's saying that we just got all these coaches together and you don't know what they're going to do or whatever. But if you look at all the pieces and look at the type of players that they usually coach, Jayden Daniels fits it. The scheme that the offense coordinator does, he fits it. All the players that he had before, places that he's coached, those are the skills that fits it. So I understand a lot of people like Drake Maye and all of that, but he would have to learn a lot, a couple of those skills to really be able to fit it and make it, and make it work.
Yeah, I agree, Terrence. I'm sorry, I'm up against the clock. I got one more call I want to get to quick, but I appreciate the call. And I promise, despite your area code, we will pick up next time that you call. I think that, it was kind of one of the weird things of the scouting process where I tend to agree with what Terrence just said, that I think Jayden Daniels is the best fit of the three for what I imagine a Cliff Kingsbury quarterback to be, even though the one of them that ran an air raid system in college was actually Drake Maye. Now, what is Cliff's offense at this point? I don't know, but I know some of the principles that he has tended to use, including throwing a lot outside the numbers, pushing the ball deep, and having a quarterback run factor in it, which Drake and JJ both can run, but obviously not like Jayden Daniels. So that is I think a great point that, while it's muddy, it's not like the cleanest thing ever. It's not like one guy was, Peyton Manning type statue and the other guy's Lamar Jackson. But within even the differences in layers of those three players, it does seem like Jayden Daniels the best fit for Cliff and what they want to do and who they want to be. As I said earlier with Dan, he's also explosive, which is one of the key words that Dan wants to have be associated with the Commanders. All right, last but not least, Franco, round us off here on the Team 980 for this hour of calls.
What's up, man? I'm just calling because I'm so thankful, man, that we got a new beginning. And what I won't do is criticize my quarterback, who is a Heisman Trophy winner. I'm quite sure he's well-spoken, but that's not what we should be concerned about. If he wasn't, so be it. But what's the criticism for? Either you're with us or you aren't with us. Man, look, we got a new beginning. Let's start together. We can only build a foundation on a strong foundation. A strong house on a solid foundation. So all the stuff that is irrelevant about what a man's talking about, what he's speaking. He's hot. He's in the moment. He's excited. He's just been chosen number 2 in the pick, and all we can say he can't talk. What? God bless you, man. Have a good weekend. Bye.
All right, Franco, that's a great end to the hour. I have nothing to add. The Commanders have plenty of adding to do. Day 2 tonight here on the Team 980. 5 picks and one trait that stands out in what the Commanders are looking for. That trait and who Logan Paulson sees as having it in spades, ready to go and get selected by Washington tonight. Round 2 and 3 preview next.